Are you recording already?
日本はイケメンがいる。
あ、何ですか？
はい、こいつ。
なんて？English.
I can speak English.
You can speak English?
That's right.
Which one do you like? Which one? This one? You like this one?
Yeah, I like that.
Quick side note, the paperback of my book is now available on Amazon. So if you are shy and struggle talking to girls because you get nervous and shit, my book is for you. So the first time I went to Japan, my very first night actually, I went to Tokyo and I met a Nigerian guy called Jay. And I asked him, how hard is it to get Japanese girls as a black guy? And he looks at me and he says, well, Jose, let me put it this way. Japanese girls don't give a fuck about Japanese guys. So as a foreigner, it's easy to get Japanese girls. And I saw it with my own eyes. They turn down Japanese guys. And the reason for that is because Japanese guys are pussies. Japanese guys are really scared to talk to girls, to do anything except for cock blocking you.
Are you recording already?
日本はイケメンがいる。
あ、何ですか？
はい、こいつ。
なんて？English.
I can speak English.
You can speak English?
That's right.
Which one do you like? Which one? This one? You like this one?
Yeah, I like that.
Hey, kumasai.
So obviously he saw me like trying to interview girls. I didn't even want to do anything with them. Lo and behold, a Japanese geezer, you know what I mean, tries to be the hero, right? And you can see by the way he looks that he's pretty like a shy guy. And there'll be no way he would ever approach girls, right? Like they're kind of trying to use you as a springboard to get to the girls whenever you can, right? And I firsthand experienced it in Okinawa. And that's when I got into a fight with 3 guys, right? 3 Japanese guys. So this is here the story. So me and my boy, the white guy, decided to end up hitting the club, right? So we go to the club and we kind of like strategize. What we do is we don't go into the club together, we enter separately, pretending to be 2 different guys. He's social and I'm social. We can both hold our own, right? So what we do is we talk to Japanese guys and Japanese girls and create our own separate groups, right? And by the end of the night, when the night is peaking, we come together and become a whole group, right? So basically we dominate in the club, and that's the easiest way to get the girls, right? And if you want to know more about the strategy, just check out my book, link is down below. What ends up happening is I've got 3 girls, he's got 4 girls, right? So we're just chilling, being cool and shit, right? But nah, there were these 3 drunk Japanese guys, right? They were like dancing all night with each other, not doing anything, not talking to any girls, not talking to anybody. But once they saw us with girls, they started kind of like frowning kind of thing, right? And later on, my boy pulls me aside and says, hey, there's one of them that tried to get into a fight with me. I'm gonna just move away because I don't want to fight nobody. And I just kind of didn't think anything of it until he actually started on me. And don't get me wrong, he was pretty big for Japanese guys. I'm not sure whether he's Japanese or Korean, but he was big and hench kind of thing, you know. And there were 4 of them, right? One of them was busy with another girl. He was the only one that was a bit of a player, right? The rest were a bit of like weenies, you know. So he comes up to me, points at me, looks at his friends. Is it him? And I get like this weird feeling like something is about to go down, right? What ends up happening is the guy looks at me and starts pushing me, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to knock this nigga out, right? But I tell him, look, what's going on, man? What happened, right? You know? And all of a sudden, he pulls my necklace. This one has sentimental value to me, right? So he pulls it out of my neck, right? Making me look like a fool. I look around, you know, like the girls, I'm starting to look like a pussy. You know, so I was like, hey bro, listen, give me my necklace back, right? Because I was about to punch him up, but his friend was like, no, please, he's drunk, don't fight him, please, you know. I was like, okay, tell him to give me my necklace back, and I'll walk this way, right? I walk away, sit down like at the fucking bar by myself, sipping my drink, being really infuriated, right? Because that guy made me look like a mug, right, in front of the girls, right? What happens? Not even 10 seconds later, he comes up to me And you know, like one of those, you know, like Jackie Chan villain, you know, like it's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna fuck you up kind of thing, you know. But I didn't even let him reach me, you know. Like this time I brought the fight to him, right? I took my left, boom, hit him right in the face, right? And he could see stars. You could tell, like all he was like, he couldn't move. He was like this. Keep in mind, that guy was maybe like 30 kilos heavier than me. He was 90 kilos, 95 kilos, like a big guy, bruv, you know? And I'm like, what, 60 kilos only? But he was dazed, right? And he fell into the crowd of Japanese people, right? And the Japanese people, they held him up. Not because they wanted to help him, but because they wanted me to finish him, right? Because he wasn't called out. You know, so I said, hey, he's not out yet. He's not out yet. Might as well finish it, right? And that told me that he was picking on every single person in the club until he met the final boss. You know what I'm saying? So I went up there and I hit him, bossa, you know, right in the face, right? And he fell and he was unconscious. I thought it was over, right? I was like, in a group, if you beat up the boss, usually the group scatters, right? And what ended up happening is I got punched out of nowhere, right? Right on my temple. I didn't see nothing. You know when it's dark, right? And somebody just punches and you don't know where it came from kind of thing. I looked down and it was the fat friend, right? Who begged me earlier, please, please, please don't punch him up. Don't fight him because he's drunk. That guy. I thought he was neutral, right? But nah, in the end it was his friend. But after he punched me, it didn't hurt, right? So I looked at him. Right? And as I looked at him, you could straight away see the regret in his face. He looked at me like, please don't hurt me. You know? I took my left, boom, he was out too, right? From across the club, the third guy came. He saw me beat up his friends and he's like, he kind of like screams like, ah, you know, like comes after me kind of thing, right? And I don't know why he screamed, because otherwise I would have not noticed him, right? He comes all the way, running, screaming, right? But people trying to separate us, so I kind of hid behind the crowd kind of thing, you know? And he swings and misses completely. And then I come back with a left, boom, you know? And he just stood there. I came over, right? I gave him like a few combinations, right? And he just stood there and took the shots, right? You know, until he fell. He wasn't knocked out, but he just took the shots, bro. I think he was a bit intimidated, you know, like I knocked his friends out and I saw when he got the thrust punch, he realized, yes, it was the wrong guy. You know what I mean? So in the end of the day, I won. I clearly won, right? I beat all of the three guys up, right? Turn back to my girls, right? Because in boxing, when win or lose or draw, everybody accepts their loss. No, but not this guy. The first guy that I knocked out, right? He wakes up with a glass bottle in his hand, right? Right behind me, right? I hear girls screaming, right? Just when he's about to hit me, my white friend tackled him to the ground. And thanks to God, he is like a police officer in his country. Like he's a German police officer. So he was able to kind of like tackle him and kind of like disarm the guy, right? And right after that, everybody in the club like jumped on him, right? Like black guys kind of like backed me up, you know, like the Americans, like they backed me up, you know, everybody jumped on him. So he was on the floor lying with everybody on top of him and only his face showing, right? And I looked at the glass because the glass bottle hit a thick window, right? And there was a big hole in the window. And I look at the glass, I look at him at the floor, I look at the glass, and I look at him at the floor. I'm thinking, you motherfucker tried to kill me. So I nonchalantly walk up to him, take the peak of my shoe, right? And hit him and kick him right in his face. He had this fat scar here in his face, right? His forehead, right? And I promise you, he will never forget that. Because I usually don't play dirty, but that guy played dirty, right? And he screams, and everybody wonders why he screams kind of thing, you know? And I nonchalantly walk away. It's like, oh, I don't know. He must have hit his head or something, you know? But what really surprised me was that 30 seconds, 40 seconds later, like 30 Japanese police officers came into the club, right? Like basically investigating, right? And these Japanese police, they were like here, they were really tiny. And I'm thinking, what the fuck you guys gonna do, right? So I look behind the Japanese boys, right? The Japanese police, right? And that's when I realized, and they took the Okinawa Karate Special Force unit. So they basically were like this big, bulky, 6'5" 6'5" tall guys, muscly, with karate signs in here, you know, like, and they, I'm not gonna lie, no word of a lie, they look like Fang, bro. They look like Fang. And if you don't know, if you have never played Tekken before, Fang is a mean looking guy, bro. All of them look like Fang. There was 4 of them, right? Obviously, everybody went quiet and behaved, right? And at the end of the day, they arrested the 3 Japanese guys, right? And the reason why I wasn't arrested is because everybody kind of backed me up, and I'm a regular customer. The bar staff was black, right? The Americans were black. Everybody kind of like backed me up kind of thing, you know, because I never really caused any trouble. And yeah, man, the night was over. But guess what? In the end of the day, there was this one Japanese girl that I was a little bit nervous to talk to because she was so bad, right? And all of a sudden, she came up to me, never talked to me before, never did anything, never paid me any attention, right? I thought she was a little bit of my league, right? She came up to me and I was like, oh, you got a little, like a bumper here, are you alright? And I was like, yeah, I'm all good kind of thing, you know? Started chatting a bit, you know? I bought her a drink and I took her home for some shine. And the thing here to note is I asked her in the end, do you see the fight? Do you see how I fucked up these guys? And she says, yeah, I saw everything. And that was pretty sexy, right? So initially, she never paid me any attention, right? But I carried myself confidently. I carried myself and I backed it up with like action, not just with words, right? And she thought that was sexy. And that's why Japanese girls don't like Japanese guys, because they're a bit of pussy whip, right? And they don't stand up for themselves. And if they do it with alcohol involved and they get into a fight, right? And I'm not saying all Japanese guys, but the vast majority of Japanese guys are hella creepy when they drink, right? And if they don't drink, they become extremely shy because they're very conscious of the shaming culture that is going on, right? So for you, when you go to Japan, don't be surprised. You will notice that Japanese guys will cockblock you. It's because they're hating. Because you'll be getting mad Japanese girls, expect Japanese guys to hate, right? And what you do is don't get into a fight, but just brush them off, right? Chotto, that means like fuck off, but in a polite way, right? And they will get it. Hope you enjoyed it. Like this video. Let me know what you think. And if you haven't already, join the Discord, right? We a community, and I'm out.